Okay, good afternoon.
No.
How is everyone? Woo! Okay, a good 2 days, right? We're going to finish off strong this afternoon. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Ben Woodworth. I'm the Director of Training with the Iowa Association of Community Providers. And I was asked, and honored to be able to be asked to facilitate a panel to talk about the impact of brain injury in relationships, in marriages in particular, and what that experience is like and how it impacts that part of the family system. And so I'm going to allow my three panelists to introduce themselves and tell a little bit about who they are, and then we'll get going. We'd really like this to be conversational. If you have questions at some point, just go ahead and interject them, and we'll stop and speak to the question and keep moving on, okay? So we really want this to be a good, rich experience for everybody involved. So, Corey, do you want to start?
Sure. I'm Corey Sebetka, and my husband had a traumatic brain injury 15 years ago. He was a trooper with the Iowa State Patrol and was on duty, and another car hit a deer and threw it through his moving vehicle window. So he and the deer ended up in the back seat, and car in front of him stopped, pulled back, cleared his airway, and called emergency services. So that started our journey. We have 4 children, 21, 19, 14, no, 15 now, sorry, 15 and 10. So.
Can I close? I got my...
Oh, sorry.
We're going to manage these microphones.
Okay, I guess my journey, I kind of wanted to start out with some points, I guess. Number one, maybe some of you went to the Caregiver speech yesterday when that was very good, but I feel more so than a caregiver, I'm like a protector. I'm very protective of the way people treat Dave, what they say about him, how they act around him, what they ask him to do. So I don't know, I guess I took on another role other than caregiver, but a few points. I'm going to talk a little bit more than she did to begin with. Oh, I'm Brenda Johnson, sorry. This is my husband, Dave Johnson.
I'm the one with the memory.
Yeah, he's the one with the brain injury. Sorry. Okay, I wanted to start with a couple of points. I wanted to start, well, this happened in 1999, and I want to tell you that back then we had great insurance. It paid for everything. The only thing it did not pay for is when he was released from the hospital, I had to purchase the liquids that went into his feeding tube. Not quite sure why, but for some reason they did not pay for that. We had no deductibles, so when I see people that have benefits, you know, it just pulls at my heart, because if we had this accident right now, it would have cost us thousands of dollars. Dave also had the best of care. The nurse at the Scottsdale Hospital, Dave was her only patient. She worked 12-hour shifts. Every day she worked, he was her patient. 2 years after he was out of the hospital, she now is the head of the ICU unit. So we loved her to pieces. One of the things she told me, because when Dave had the accident, I was allowed to go in to see him 10 minutes a day, twice a day. And thank God, she told me if she caught me in the waiting room, which at that point the hospital had the worst waiting room in the world. Since then they've renovated into a very nice waiting room. To me makes no sense, but anyway, thank God she told me that, because she said I had to take care of myself. I needed sunshine, I needed fresh air, and so anyway, she was a great lady. The doctor who took care of Dave was excellent also. He actually was the doctor that in the Iraq War, the first kidnapped woman was Jessica Lynch, and he's the first one that treated her when she got out of the hospital, or got into the hospital. And then to Waterloo, probably you guys are probably too young to have known Dr. Verdine. Dave had Dr. Verdine. Dr. Verdine was the one that started the rehab center in Waterloo. And now kind of off a little bit, I'm probably not supposed to talk about this, but saying this, I never knew anything about the Brain Injury Association. The hospital didn't tell me anything about it. The accident was October of 1999. In September, we renewed our vows for our 20th anniversary. Somebody gave us a card and said they donated money to the Iowa Brain Injury Association, and but still, that's as much knowledge as I had. We started going, Dr. Verdine retired, and Dr. Monshatti took his place, and he had a brain injury counselor in his office that we went to, and Dave saw him alone, or I'd see him with him. Dr. Haben, I don't know if anybody would remember him either, but anyway, he's the one that nominated Dave to be in the Brain Injury Association board, Governor's Council. So anyway, that's how we got in with brain injury. A good thing now is that you guys do have the packets, and the hospital, I did stop at the same hospital that he was in, and they gave me the packet that you guys get, and then they gave me what their version that they add to that packet themselves. Am I doing too much? Okay, anyway, I will go about what happened. Okay, I'll tell you a little bit about Dave. Dave started and ran what ended up being a multi-million-dollar business. He farmed 300 acres. We had 3 children at home. 2 of them were into sports, so we were very busy with that. October 24th, the date that changed our family forever. We were part of a group of 4 motorcycles in Arizona, and a separate person caused our accident. He spent 5 weeks in the Scottsdale Osborne Hospital. He was medical jetted to Waterloo, Iowa, he was in the hospital just shy of 5 months. He left the hospital with a feeding tube, unable to walk without assistance, could not dress himself. He did not like to watch TV unless MASH was on, and he would get angry if MASH was not on. And this, again, is before you could record. It was before you had 700 channels. I mean, this was before some of you were even born. So, he wasn't fitted with proper glasses yet. He had a lot of outpatient therapy. Luckily, or unluckily, I don't know, because this Dr. Verdine I worked at John Deere, and I don't know what Dr. Verdine said to the doctor at John Deere, but I did get a year off with no pay to take care of him. So, extremely lucky. Okay, now what this accident did to our family, I really hope never happens to anybody else's. But Dave was the leader of our family, very well known and liked in our community. He was a true leader. He had started to get ideas of political motivation. He wanted to do a couple of offices, but he wanted to end up being the governor of Iowa. He had the total respect of his children. Since young, they did not want to disappoint or make him mad. That all changed with the brain injury. Dave had 2 kids from a previous marriage. The older one did not live with us and now still lives thousands of miles from us. His younger son was graduated, but he was moved out of the home. Our oldest was 17, and he handled it really well until Dave was let out of the hospital. I truly believe that he thought when Dave got out of the hospital that Dave would be just like Dad always was, and far from the truth. My son had always been good in high school, a star athlete in basketball and baseball. He graduated and got into alcohol, drugs. His anger was very extreme. I myself called the police on him. I was the very first one to call the police on him. He got into a bad situation along the way, some ambies, and got with a gal that he shouldn't have been with, and he never would have been with otherwise. In the long run, he got arrested for breaking and entering, and now he has a felon. So later, he did spend 3 months in prison. After he got out of prison, he did graduate from college. He married a nice gal. They had 2 beautiful children. He's a nice, great father. They ended up being divorced, so he did get a job to support his kids. And just recently, he lost that job, and he is like, if you had heard me in the lobby not too long ago, I had to raise my voice on the telephone, and I hung up on him twice. He is really, honestly, out of control. He can't find a job. He won't go look for a job because of the felony, because he gets refused every time. Anyway, go on. Our 15-year-old got pregnant when she was in high school. We found that out right around the same time Dave got out of the hospital. So that was another thing that we dealt with, or I guess I dealt with. She did end up keeping the baby, thank goodness, and she ended up being my rock. And to talk about extended family, his family came down. We were 5 weeks in Arizona. Somebody was with me at all times. When we got back to Waterloo, they came to the every 6-week meetings in the hospital. Other than that, nothing. The hospital wrote in their notes that I had great family support, but what they didn't know is that I sometimes would call and ask for help. They lived in the Des Moines area.